So in the first video of this series, I shared this picture of the back of a competition orange Terminator Cobra that was for sale, and I found this higher quality version of the picture. So I figured I'd include it in this video so that you can see it a little bit better. But this was the picture I looked at and just really fell in love with the back of the Cobra in competition orange and how the brake light and the Cobra letters stand out a little more. The exhaust for the independent rear suspension is very visible under there and it just looks so cool. So I just wanted to put this picture up since I found a better one. The other one was kind of grainy and stuff. And the last video I made talked about being up at the drag races at the old airport, and I found another picture of that, a better quality picture of that. And so this was a really cool picture. So there's my orange Cobra there with the other Cobras and my friend's GTO. So I just wanted to share that picture too because that was really cool and I talked all about it in the last video. So over the years I've saved pictures of competition orange Cobras and I enjoy studying them once in a while when I see them pop up on desktop background that can change. You can set it up to rotate and I'll look at these cars and I'll think, okay, it has a sticker on the back quarter window, looks like it has the stock exhaust perhaps, unless that's like a Flowmaster. Some of the Flowmaster tips look a lot like the stock tips, but it's like, okay, it's got the SVT license plate frame, kind of the original one that you could get back then, so that looks pretty cool. And you know, it just looks like a really nice car, no bumper inserts, so probably pretty stock. It looks like it's been tucked away in a garage and looks like they get it out once in a while, and or maybe they daily drive it, you never know. But you know, these cars are all over the place like that, and you know, they're tucked away in little places around the country. And so something cool was I got a comment recently that said, your part 1 video of this Competition Orange Cobra series inspired me to reach out to a Comp Orange owner and offer the owner to purchase a first right of refusal. I should have bought one 5 years ago when I had the opportunity. Thanks for sharing. And so I love reading the comments. I read every comment that comes into the channel and I think that's really fun. And it's true. I mean, these cars are getting harder to find, and so sometimes you have to find them and see who owns them and then offer to buy them, not just wait for one to come up for sale. So I like studying these pictures and looking closely. For example, you can see it still has the running horse on the front, so this one looks very stock. So I'm curious whether this car is still around or not. Actually, as I come to think about it, I think I remember there was this rock chip on the front fender here, and thinking about how unfortunate it was. It's in a very terrible place right there on the top by the headlight. And I actually remember this car, I think it was for sale, and they were showing that on it. And you know, there's another one here that was tucked away in what looked like some kind of a shop. There's a tractor in the background, and this one looked really nice as well. And so I thought, wow, that looks a lot like my car. And so over the years, these pictures would cycle through my screensaver, and you know, the desktop background would change every minute or so, and I'd be at work and I'd look up and see that for a second, and I noticed things like, oh, it looks like they have the HVAC controls buttons changed to the metal ones on this car. Or in this case, it looks like they might have the original tires still on this Cobra, so you would assume it might be a low mileage Cobra. The exhaust tips look stock too, so it's like, oh, here's kind of a hidden away stock Cobra. Now they made 281 competition orange coupes in the Cobras and 72 convertibles, and so you gotta wonder where they all are these days. There's the rear bumper with the stock exhaust poking out there. So I got an Instagram account and it grew pretty quickly when people saw the cars I had. I really enjoyed it. And one of the people that I started to follow had this Oxford White 2003 Cobra. And it looked really nice. And you could tell that they loved the car and took very good care of it. And something I noticed about the car was he had gone to a full custom interior. And so this was kind of radical. You didn't see this very much with the Cobras. A lot of guys keep them kind of stock. It looks like the seats were the same seats, just rewrapped in different type of leather and stuff. It looked really good. But I noticed the steering wheel was changed as well with the flat bottom wheel. And so as I followed him, he posted his stock steering wheel for sale. And it only had 20-something thousand miles on it. And so I was pretty interested because the top of my steering wheel had some wear to it. And so I remember exactly where I was the day I was working with my friend, mobile washing, and messaging the guy as I worked. And, I had just bought the Cobra, and so I wasn't really wanting to spend a lot of extra money, but I felt like when a steering wheel like that pops up for sale, it's probably a good idea to jump on it. So I messaged him and asked him about it. He sent me these pictures. You can see the seam on the bottom of the steering wheels in the center. That's a Terminator wheel. Other Mustangs have the stitch seams on the 5 and 7 location on the bottom of the wheel, but the Terminator is straight down the center there. And it is a double leather wrapped wheel, so it is special to the Cobra. And this one looked really good. The leather looked nice on it, and that's the only seam on the wheel. If it's a Terminator wheel, there's no more seams on the top part like there are in other Mustangs. So he sent me these pictures and said it looked great. So I said I would love to buy it, and told him I had a 32,000 mile Cobra that needed it. And so he was very nice. He shipped it in the packaging. His other wheel came in. So now you can see this picture of my old wheel, which the picture is a little exaggerated with the flash. It didn't really look that bad, but you can see there's just a little bit of wear on the front of mine. And these are the same color, even though the camera kind of picked them up differently. And so I was really excited to get that steering wheel. And so that was something that bothered me, and I'm glad I fixed that by buying a new wheel. I still haven't put this wheel on the car. I figured I might as well leave the original one on there and use it up and drive around with it, and I have a brand new one ready to go. And so I have this wheel still like packed up in my closet, so it's not going anywhere and it's preserved. So, these are kind of hard to come by, and I'm glad to see it. Obviously, you have to get off another Cobra at some point, and these cars are getting older, and so when I do see some of them come up for sale, they're not as nice. Sometimes when you're cleaning these steering wheels, you can rub a little bit hard and it can really shred them up and tear them up. So I wonder if that's what happened to mine, because I started to do that a little bit on my yellow Mach 1. And I do have another steering wheel for my yellow Mach 1 in case I need it. It's not so bad, but it did kind of shred up a little bit when I scrubbed on it with a microfiber towel. So you have to be careful when you clean these things up. But I was glad that he sold the wheel to me, and I think that was a great thing to buy at the time. So I'd put a different mid-pipe on the car to test the air-fuel ratio. But if you've ever done mid-pipes on any of these Mustangs of this generation, you'll know that on one side, the mid-pipe has kind of a ball and cup on the driver's side where it meets the exhaust manifold flange. And on the passenger side, there's a gasket that you have to put in there. And if you don't get it just right, it'll leak and it'll have an annoying kind of ticking exhaust leak noise. And so that really bugged me. And, I had battled that with my blue Mach 1 as well. And, you put it all back together and you turn it on and you listen and you're like, oh man, it's making that noise. The exhaust leak sounds terrible. So I wanted to pull the car out and adjust it and loosen the mid pipe, and I ended up having to put a new gasket in there because sometimes these gaskets get pinched if they're not installed just right. I'll put some RTV around it as well now to help it seal better. I did that with my Silver GT recently. But anyway, that was just something I had to do. And then while I was under there, I did an oil change, so I thought I might as well take care of the car and do that. And this car's got a lot of oil changes with less than 100 miles on it over the years, each oil change. So I was happy that my Cobra came with a factory shift knob and shift boot. Those things could get changed over the years, and that would be annoying. But my car did have an aftermarket shifter from a 2000 Cobra R. It was a B&M Ripper shifter, and this thing was massive. It was a big piece, and I felt like it was helping me miss gears when I was racing my brother. Like I go to hit third and I couldn't quite hit it with this shifter, and I had read on the forums and people had said, if you have the Ripper shifter, be prepared to miss gears. And so it ended up being a bad throwout bearing, which was the problem I fixed earlier. I showed that in the series of pulling the transmission off and everything. But during all this, I wasn't sure if it was the shifter causing the trouble. So, I'd seen bad reviews about this. And the good thing about it was huge. It was well built. It was a big piece. And it gave the shifter a longer stretch towards your hand. A lot of people complain about the T56 has the mounting base of it so far forward that a lot of guys can't reach to hit third with it because the shifter handle's so short if they have an aftermarket shifter, and it makes it hard to get those throws. You know, you have to kind of sit forward for some people. It didn't really bother me, but this shifter was taller and longer handled and stuff, so that was nice. But I had heard of people complaining that they weren't hitting shifts right with it and everything, and so I thought maybe I should replace it, and so I still kept it. I still have it today. It's a big unit. It's kind of cool because it's what the Cobra R had on it, you know, and that was the only T56 that was on the Mustangs before the Terminator. Cobra got it in 0304, and so I found a Pro 50 short shifter for a T56 that was actually for sale by the owner of the yellow Cobra down in Vegas, My Taxi 1320. He had gone to an automatic transmission, and so he sold the Pro 50, and I was happy to buy that from him. So I started to take off the shifter and clean the mating surface and get it all right, and here's the new Pro 50, and you can see the difference between these two shifters. The one on the right is the B&M, and it was huge. Not only was the handle bigger and longer, but the whole base of it was taller, and so you can see this was probably more to accommodate the issues of the T56 being so far forward. Now I have a Pro 50 shifter in my '01 Bullet, and you can even change the handle out. So you can see here on the left is the Pro 50 handle, and to the right is a Steeda forged handle, and the bolt pattern is the same. And so I've bought the Steeda handle for my Bullet, and I love the Pro 50 shifter with the Steeda handle. And the TR3650 5-speed transmission that comes in the GTs and the Mach 1s is a really good transmission. I feel like it's not as notchy as the T56. I think it shifts smoother. I just like it a lot better. And I've pounded gears with my Pro 50 shifter in the Bullet for years, and that transmission has 165,000 miles on it, and it is perfect. And so I wanted to do the same thing for the Cobra, so I bought a Steeda handle and swapped out the Pro 50 shifter handle for it, and I did the Cobra Bob gaskets, I think is what the orange ones are there, and I might have used some RTV as well, but I got that all set up, and there's the new Pro 50 in there, and you know, I think it feels a lot better. I really like it, and so I did do that shifter change. So it drove a lot better, and I enjoyed that a lot. So I took the Cobra out and went back on top of the parking garage. Video. I really like that area. There's a lot more to come there. More upgrades to the Cobra and history of the car. You can see the tires a little better on the concrete kind of flooring there. So kind of cool. See the wide 315s in the back. The car looked great. And so I was enjoying driving the Cobra around. I'd meet up with my brother, my friends sometimes, and just enjoy going places and having the car. And I just really loved having an orange Terminator Cobra. It was really a special car to me, and you know, I worked really hard during the week, and actually this week I was at work and I was doing my old job, which was a lot more physical and demanding, and it was in a warehouse, you know, working, and I remembered what it was like when I had bought this car new and how hard it was to meet the production and quality standards in a warehouse and work really hard, stacking heavy boxes all day long. And I had just graduated college, so that was really hard. It was a very difficult time, and I'm proud of myself when I look back and see how much I did at such a young age, plus the fact that I made this Cobra happen during that whole time. And so that was a lot of hard work. And so I was actually helping out working my old job. I'm now in the data processing section of the warehouse, where it's not as strenuous and time crunch sensitive, and you know, it's not as back-breaking as it used to be. And I was helping because they needed help. It was a big day, and they offered us to stay and get some overtime if we wanted to help the other departments. And so today I was doing my old job, and it was the job I had to do back then when I was paying for this Cobra, and you know, I bought my first house, and you know, I was working 2 jobs with my friend doing the mobile detailing, like I mentioned. And as I was working, I was thinking to myself, and you know, you think of the concept of if you could go back in time and meet your old self and tell yourself things. And I thought, what would I tell myself right now if I could go back and find myself working and doing the same job, and I could come to myself and say, certain things. And this is what I was saying to myself. I said, Justin, good job for working so hard. Just so you know, everything's going to work out. The car will be paid off. Not only that, but you'll have another Terminator, a red one, 10th anniversary with a VMP blower on it. The Bullet does end up getting supercharged, and you have several other Mustangs you enjoy as you continue to work hard. You'll have a few Mach 1s, and you work really hard for all this stuff, so good job for that. But just so you know, it does work out. You're gonna get the Cobra paid off, because when I was doing all this, I knew very well that if I had lost my job, or if things didn't work out, and the economy was kind of rough in this time as well, and I knew very well that if things got kind of dicey, I would have to sell my blue Mach 1 to pay for the Cobra, because I didn't want to lose the Cobra. I didn't want to lose the Mach 1 either, but if I had to make the choice, I probably would have had to sell the blue Mach 1 and pay the Cobra off so I wouldn't lose it. So anyway, that's a lot of things are unknown when you're younger and when you're going through life. And so you just have to stick to it and hope for the best and work hard and do your best job all the time. And I look back and I think of everything I did to make it happen, but looking at this picture especially made me just proud of how hard I worked, and glad that I had done everything I needed to do to be able to purchase this Comp Orange Cobra. And I just remember looking at this picture and studying it and thinking, man, that is such a beautiful car. I've been enjoying making this series about my Competition Orange Cobra, and I appreciate everybody who watches and comments and likes the videos. That helps out a lot. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more of this Competition Orange Cobra story, and stay tuned for more Mustang content.